All right, so the car probably looks pretty similar to how it did, just before Christmas. Um, well, actually before Thanksgiving, but I actually got everything on. I got the radiator grill, the hood, windshield. I got the interior in, everything together, and drove around the neighborhood some. It actually worked really well. The engine is very strong. Very, very happy with how that works. Uh, there's this minor like interference issue with the clutch, and I push the clutch in sometimes. While it's in, I get like some interference um, down. I took it out once. It looked to see if it was hitting something in the bell housing, but I didn't really see anything there. Put it back together and it was nice and quiet. And then, within maybe 10 miles of driving again, it started. And sometimes it doesn't do it. So that'll be a mystery, but it'll be pretty easy to diagnose when I take it back apart. So the goal right now, you notice the door's off, all the chrome is off. Taking all the chrome off and get it sent out to get replated. And then I'm working on the doors. You see this door, you can see a new wood piece in the bottom. Both doors had some rot down at the bottom, so I've replaced those. And that helps get this aligned properly. You can see now when I get it closed here, it's not hitting up here at the top. It was rubbing at the top. So that door is aligned nicely. I'm working on the other one right now. I've got only had to splice in a piece on the bottom. Did take it apart, re-glued it, some new screws in it, and then there was some rust issues, a little bit more surface rust in the bottom of the door, nothing that rusted through. So I got rid of that and went ahead and primed the doors. So the next task will be to go ahead and get the frame back in the door. You bend that over and then nail it on. After that, I'm going to come back and work on the scuttle. You see somebody has done, I guess maybe started a patch job. They cut something out and then just put a piece behind it. So we'll be going in and taking, it will take the scuttle off, and fortunately it actually comes apart here. So this very top part will come off. We'll be able to weld in a patch there. And if you look on the other side, it has a similar issue. And I didn't actually see this because it was behind the windshield. So this area hasn't been cut out yet. So we'll cut all that out and weld in a piece on that. A couple other things that I found on the firewall part here is it looks like someone, I have yet to figure this out, but you can see that they've gone and taken little plugs out. Like they wanted to make little plugs, little circles. You could even see where it's drilled down into the wood a little bit. So all those will need to be patched up. They also put a hole in here probably for the heater. I'm going to just put a rubber seal around that and leave it in case next owner wants to put a heater in it. As I said, the engine ran great, very, very strong. Everything worked really good, nice and cool, great oil pressure, and it's fast. It's probably not to be said about this car, but given the open body style, and it's a peppy little engine and a lot of fun to drive. All right, so that's a tour of it. Now you can kind of see where we are right now, and start getting the door together. And the goal here is to have a little bit more action footage. For those that just want summaries, that's probably not going to be the great thing. You can just skip that. But for those wanting a little bit more detail, hopefully that'll work. It's probably going to take me a few times to get it just right, so bear with me, and we'll try to get this together. Okay, so I got everything nailed in, but I noticed that as I nailed some of these in, they were coming out, and then this area was very loose. The wood looked all right when I repaired the frame, and I only needed to scarf in some areas here, but obviously this was not as good as I thought it was. So I've gone and made a template. I'm going to scarf in 2 pieces here, and the only wood I had in that width was this piece here, and it's a little thicker than we need, so we're going to use our planer, which is really a jointer, and do some thickness on that, since it's a small piece and we're not going down far, really only a 1/4 of an inch. It'll be okay to use that for thickness. All right, so we're going to get that plane down and join it on one side and put the templates on the top, cut those out, and then we'll get this one fit in first, get it into the corner, get this joint, and then we'll get the 2 to fit, and then the bottom joint on that, and then that'll take care of that. We'll be able to fold this over and be done with that part. All right, well, this ended up okay. Structurally, it's nice and sound. I did end up having to put sort of a wedge here. You can see I got it right on the bottom. I got this on the right on the top. This one's right all the way through. The overlap is right, but when I was cutting down the top here, I'm not sure what happened. I did cut the line that was marked. I guess I didn't check it twice. So anyway, the bottom fit is fine. I got a little wedge in there. It's fine. This provides a lot of the strength here. This got that corner nice and solid. So that'll do pretty much the rest of it. This thing is broken at the top. I'm looking for the top piece. The top piece goes here, so that's going to need to be fixed as well. I haven't decided if I make a new one or if I just weld this corner back in. I was going to make a new one because I was replacing this, but once this fit exactly right, I think I'm just going to go ahead and weld that the top piece and put that in. Alright, so that'll be the next step. I'm still getting used to the camera. I'm trying to get more action shots, but quite frankly, I forget to get the thing set up before I do things. So it's going to be a learning process. Hopefully it gets better as it goes along. Alright, well, the doors are done, and good news, the body is off the frame. The bad news is there's the body. Yeah, so not a huge surprise, but after taking the door apart and noticing some of the wood in the door had a problem, I wasn't shocked to find this in the lower part, some of the frame. The good news is this one piece is really the worst. The other pieces are okay. Some of them will need to be replaced. Some of them are useful as is. All of the metal has a surface rust where it was in with the wood, and you can see this detail here. This is felt, so where the steel panels would brush up against maybe another steel panel, like this is a support that was right here, they use felt, and of course that's going to hold moisture, so that's not good. The good news is like I said, this is all just surface rust, and of course now the body fits in the blasting cabinet, so it'll be a little bit easier to get to. So you know, it's extra work. It's not going to be that bad. The scuttle top, I mean, that had to come off to these patches anyway. It's going to let us get these iron steel frames, or sort of the bigger part of the support. We're going to be able to go and get those in the blast cabinet and get them done. Everything, the step I'm going to do is go in and media blast all of this, and then it will get the epoxy primer just like the frame did, and I'm gonna actually do the same thing with the wood. I've got went and got some new ash. So obviously, you know, this piece will be replaced. This one, because the bottom's a little bad, will be replaced. Some of the side supports are okay. For me, the good news is, while this one does have a bend in it, it does have one flat side all the way down. That makes it a lot easier to work with, because that gives you one surface on the bandsaw that's still flat that you're cutting through. So it's a gorgeous day out today, so I rolled the car out. It gave me plenty of room to pull the panel saw out, and I got some marine plywood and marine grade plywood, and then cut up these panels to match the ones on the car that I'm replacing. These here, the bigger ones, are for the floorboards. This is the back, the sort of vertical piece on the back, and these are the back floorboards that's sort of behind the seat. So next, we've got what you can see under here. We've got the 8-4 ash. So we're gonna get the table saw out next, and cut basically 45 off here, and then cut rip a 2.5 and a 2.5, and this piece under here is about 45 as well. So we're just gonna rip 2.5 here, 2.5 here, and then that will give us 2 sections that will glue up and swing you over here. I had hoped to do this in with one piece, but I didn't. Well, it wasn't that I didn't measure. Well, I guess I did measure incorrectly. It's that part of this was I measured here and it was 2 inches. I'm like, great, I get 8-4 and we're good. But what was up inside the sheet metal is this part, and it's more like 2 1/4. So that won't quite work. I was just going to bend it right here and do it out of one piece. So since we have to do it out of 2 pieces, that makes it to where I don't need to bend it. I got kind of a small illustration here you might be able to see. Basically, I put this down here. Yeah. Okay. So you see, I've got it right there. I traced it out on both sides. And then you can see how this would fit. The center line here is where one board will be. So the second board will be somewhere in there. So I'll be able to just cut this out of 2 boards. And so we're going to go ahead and cut those, rip those, cut them late, rip it, and glue it together. And then I think I'm going to probably media blast these next. It's sort of dependent on the weather. Monday's going to be reasonably nice, and I might be able to get this shot in primer, which would be just great. Tuesday and the rest of the week is going to be cold and raining some, so it's going to make it a little bit harder. All right, well, I got these the back panel and the front panel for the right side media blasted, and then I've cut I glued up these 2 pieces, and then I've rough cut this piece. You can see how this is going to fit. You got these are pretty much the same, about right there. Yeah, so looks like it's going to be a good fit. Probably that'll about wrap this up for this part, and then we'll come back, and the whole next part will be making these bottom pieces, the top, the other side of that, and then putting the frame back on.